The story begins as a boy walks down the street with his mother and they talk about what to give for dinner, but the ground suddenly shakes and a three-headed demon appears before them. It destroys everything in its path. So, everyone runs for their lives, but the boy trips and falls. It grabs him and prepares to eat him, but a rooster named K suddenly comes to his rescue. The demon tells him to give the boy back. But he refuses to do it, and his body starts to glow as he rushes forward to finish her off. In flashback to a year earlier, we see K as he enjoys himself with a hen, but he decides to leave in the morning. She tries to stop him, but he explains that he was born to wander, so he can't stay in one place for too long. She cries as she wonders if he was just toying with her, so he explains that it isn't the case and notes that he simply let his animal instincts take over. As Kai wanders around, he notices an insect flying in the air, so he launches a rock toward it, killing it in an instant. He eats it and finds it delicious, and he knows that it will also help with his digestion. So, he's killing two birds with one stone. He goes to a park to drink water, but he catches the attention of two girls, and they wonder where he came from. He thinks about how he hates kids since they're rude and stubborn, but one of them offers him fried chicken, which makes him wonder if she's nuts. Boy suddenly grabs him, so the girls tell him to let Ki go, but he refuses to listen to them. He wonders what they should do with Kai and his friend wants to eat him, but he notes that it's dangerous since they don't know what kind of diseases Kai may have. He decides to feed him to his cat. So, Ki panics and runs away, but the boys chase after him. He goes into a house where he meets an old man and the boys catch up to him. They tell the old man that Kai belongs to them, but he explains that Kai lives with him because he knows that they have bad intentions. They can tell that he's lying, but there's nothing they can do about it, so they decide to leave. After that, Kai is grateful to the old man for saving his life, but he thinks he can't stay there since he has things he needs to take care of. He prepares to leave, but the old man offers him a plate of food, and he digs in since he can't resist it. He notices that something is bothering the old man, so he explains that his wife used to feed the sparrows. And looking back at his life, he wishes he had retired earlier to spend more time with her. Kai understands what he's feeling and he recalls the time his house was attacked. Eli, demon which ate his sister as she begged him to save her. They suddenly hear an explosion and they see everyone running for their lives as a demon goes on a rampage. They notice the boys who were chasing after Kai, but one of them trips and falls and the demon catches up to him. The old man refuses to watch him die, so he throws himself on top of him, and the demon prepares to stab them, but Kai suddenly protects them. The old man takes the kids to safety, and Kai gets fired up as he recalls what the demons did to his sister. The demon grabs a car and throws it at him, so he jumps over it and rushes forward, but the demon continues to throw cars at him. He dodges all of them and manages to close the distance, so the demon smashes the ground, but Ki jumps away. He runs around to dodge its attacks and he jumps on top of its head, but it still can't hit him. He pokes its eye and thinks he needs to finish it off before it can recover. So, he unleashes his special move, which hits the demon with a devastating sound wave. Everyone covers their ears as they hear his scream, which is so powerful that it destroys the nearby windows, and it blows the demon into pieces. The kids can't understand what just happened. So, the old man explains that it's a phenomenon called resonance, where people use their voices to break glass. It happens when a sound frequency matches the wavelength of an object. But he doesn't understand how it can be powerful enough to defeat such a huge demon, and he wonders who K is. We see that something changed inside K's body after the demon ate his sister, and he attacked the demon with his special move, but it wasn't strong enough to defeat the demon, which had a mark on its neck. He checks the demon he just defeated, and realizes it isn't the one who ate his sister, but he notices that the old man's yard has been destroyed. So, he helps clean it up. Everyone finishes cleaning up the yard, but they realize that Kai is gone, and we see that he has decided to leave the town. He hopes that he has repaid the old man's kindness, and he returns to the hand he left since it isn't his style to leave woman crying. But he realizes that she has already moved on. We see Kai in bucket while group of old women dives into the ocean to collect sea urchins, and they give him one of the urchins they caught, but they don't know if he'll eat it. They wonder why he's been with them for 3 days. And after they leave, he inspects the sea urchin since he has never seen it before. He isn't sure if it's edible, but he still decides to take a bite, and he's surprised Eli how amazing it tastes. We see a man named Oda who tries to sell chicks, and one of them named Yoko tells him to keep going. But the other chicks bully her because Oda is selling off their friends, and they're annoyed that she doesn't care about it. 2 girls take a look at the chicks and they find them cute, but they decide to leave since they're afraid of Oda. The police take him to the station and warn him he isn't allowed to sell chicks, so he takes them home. He gives them food and tells them to get along with each other. But they push Yoko to the side and start to eat without her. Oda notices she hasn't eaten anything, so he takes her out of the box and gives her food, and they watch a movie together. She notices that he has the same tattoo as the lead actor, so he admits he wants to be like him, and she asks him to draw it on her back as well. He fulfills her request and tells her it means she needs to protect the weak. But when he puts her back with the others, they all make fun of her. The next day, Oda returns home beaten up, and he apologizes to a man named Tajima since he couldn't pay his dues to the Yakuza on time. He's glad the boss didn't tell him to sell off his organs, and he knows he needs a way to make more money. So, Tajima tells him he's opening a new cleaning company. He mentions that they're entering a different era where even the Yakuza will need to work proper jobs. And he tells Oda he'll pay off his debt, Ila helping manage the company. Oda starts to cry. And he can't believe how kind Tajima is. But Tajima tells him not to mention it since brothers look out for each other. After 3 days, a couple of men come to Oda's house and they tell him Tajima has run away. So he needs to pay the 0 million yen Tajima borrowed. He recalls that Tajima made him sign a form and he explains that Tajima needed the money to start his business, but the men tell him the Yakuza can't be trusted. He remembers that when he was a child, his mother told him she would be home late, but she never came back and everyone made fun of him. He cries as he recalls how everyone treated him like trash, and he starts to lose it, but everyone notices that his body is transforming, and they panic as he turns into a demon. A family prepares to eat sea urchin in a restaurant, but they suddenly freak out since Kei is staring at them from outside the window, but he sees the explosion caused Ile Oda. So, he goes to check it out. Oda goes on a rampage, so Yoko tries to bring him back to his senses, but he continues to destroy everything. He prepares to eat bus full of people, so Kai hits him with his special move, which blows up a part of him. He prepares to attack Oda again, but Yoko begs him to stop, and he wonders what Chick is doing there. He dodges Oda's attack and unleashes his special move, which destroys Oda's head. Yoko goes to check up on Oda, but Ki tells her he's dead, which makes her leery, and she blames Ki for his death. They notice that Oda is still alive, and he returns to his original body, which shocks Kei. He knows that people who turn into demons are destined to meet a tragic end. But Oda's heart wasn't fully taken over Ila the demon, which is how he was able to survive. Kai thinks it's because he has Yoko and the others in his life. And she realizes that he was trying to save Oda, which makes her develop feelings for him, but he decides to leave because he has no reason to stay there. She's glad that she at least has Oda with her and thinks they will live together forever, but she doesn't know if it's what she wants. And he tells her not to worry about him and go after Kai. As she runs after Kai, she thanks Oda for everything he's done for her. But she crashes into Kai, who tells her not to follow him since he hates kids. After that, Oda is admitted to the hospital while the lawn sharks beat up Tajima and brings him to see Oda. Yoko continues to follow Kai, but she wonders how someone can leave cute chick like her behind, and she plans to yell at him once she catches up to him. She becomes hungry, so she looks for food. And she notices a worm, but she doesn't want to eat it since it looks gross. She decides to eat grass, but she sees people running away, and she realizes that another demon has appeared. She's afraid of what it might do to her, but she rushes toward it since she knows that Kay will be there. The demon attacks Kai, but he dodges all of its moves and hits it with a barrage of punches while Yoko cheers him on. He blasts it with his special move, but it regenerates its body and tells him there's no point in attacking since it's invincible. Kai can't believe it's still alive, and he recalls how all the demons he fought had weak spot around their brains or hearts. So, he thinks the demon must have a weak point as well. We learn that its heart and brain are in its tail, and it thinks Kai will never think to attack it, but he charges up his special move. Once again, the demon thinks it won't cause any damage, but he blasts its entire body, and it panics as he reaches its tail. The demon blows up, and Yoko is glad that he won the fight, but she realizes he's exhausted, so she rushes to check on him, but the demon suddenly tries to eat her, and Ki pushes her out of the way, so it bites him instead. The demon finally meets its end, but she realizes that the people are gathering around them, and she knows she can't let them see Kai, so she drags him to a safe spot. He asks for water and she thinks it's her duty to protect him. So, she finds a bottle cap and lifts his head to make sure he can drink. She realizes he isn't getting better. So, she finds a worm, and even though she's afraid of it, she still picks it up and feeds it to him. He finally wakes up and he's surprised that he's still alive, but he notices Yoko sleeping beside him and he realizes she saved him. As Yoko wakes up, she notices that Kay is gone. So, she starts to array, but he suddenly appears behind her and tells her he'll leave her behind if she slows him down. She becomes annoyed and kicks him in the head and notes that he didn't even thank her for saving his life, but chicken named Elizabeth suddenly attacks him with her sword. He acts like he doesn't know who she is, but she's glad that he hasn't changed because she can kill him without reservations. The people around them wonder what they're doing while Kai doesn't understand why she's trying to kill him. So, she notes that she'll never forget what he did to her. She rushes toward him, so he dodges her attack, but she ends up destroying a vending machine. She explains that her sword is charged with a 0 million volts of power and reveals that she made it to turn him into roast chicken, but he still doesn't understand why she hates him, so she realizes he really has forgotten what he did to her. In a flashback, we learn that wealthy family adopted Elizabeth after she hatched, and they always showered her with love. She learns all types of tricks to make them happy. But even though there's nothing wrong in her life, she still feels like something is missing. A demon suddenly appears at their home, and it prepares to crush them, but Kai suddenly eliminates the demon, which makes her fall in love with him. They spend the day walking on the beach, and he tells her about his travels, which makes her like him even more. She spends the night with him and realizes that love is what she's been missing all this time, but he decides to leave her afterwards, which makes her awry. Back in the present, Elizabeth notes that it's been an month since he stomped on her heart, and Yoko realizes she's Kai's ex-girlfriend. Elizabeth rushes at him again, so he avoids her attacks and tells her to stop before she gets hurt, but she refuses to listen to him. He runs away from her as he jumps from one car to the next, but Yoko tells him to stop and show Elizabeth who's boss. He suddenly turns around and kisses her, which shocks Yoko, but he prepares to do it with her, which makes her angry. He knows she doesn't want to kill him, but a police officer rushes toward them, so he picks Yoko up and runs away. Elizabeth thinks about how she swore to kill Ki when she found him. But the way she acts confirms that she still has feelings for him. As they get to safety, Yoko is annoyed at Elizabeth for kissing her man, which makes Elizabeth wonder if Ki put his hands on child. He assures her he would never do such a thing, but she refuses to believe him because he has no restraints when it comes to women. She doesn't understand why she's acting like she still has feelings for him and reminds herself she still hasn't forgiven him. So, she tells him he isn't the only reason she started her journey and explains that she plans to eliminate the demons. She notes that after he left, she saw how the demons destroyed her town, and she even lost her friends because of them. But she knows they're causing destruction everywhere. So, she plans to make sure no one else loses their friends and family like her. Kay mentions that he has no such motive and notes that he only wants to avenge his sister, but she asks him if he knows where to find the demon with a mark on its neck. She notes that she's been researching demons and explains that after their first appearance 3 years ago, 800 demons have been spotted with most of them only trying to eliminate humans. They didn't have intelligence, but they've started to change recently as the new variants show intellect and human-like emotions. A few of them are peaceful and even help humans in times of need. But she shows Kai a video of a demon which has 4 horns and a white body. It turns its hand into a phoenix and unleashes it on everyone, which shocks Kai because it looked just like his sister. Elizabeth tells him to look at the mark on the demon's neck, which makes him lose his mind, and he notes that he needs to be alone for a while. At night, Kai thinks about how he has no clue what's going on, but he believes he'll learn everything once he finds the demon, so he's even more fired up to defeat it the next day. Elizabeth takes them to a hot spring, which excites Yoko, and she's glad that no humans are there. She mentions that the water there will help heal Kei's injuries, but she notices that something's bothering him, and she's shocked to learn that he's afraid of water. He notes that animals that live on land don't need to learn how to swim, but she pushes him into the water, which makes him panic, but he realizes that the water isn't that deep. And he finds it relaxing. She puts a cold towel on his head and tells him chickens regulate heat through their crown, so the towel will keep him from overheating. As they enjoy the hot spring, Yoko sees Elizabeth is too close to Kei. So, she tells her to get away from him. Elizabeth wonders why the word duty is written on Yoko's back. And even though she doesn't like Elizabeth, she decides to tell her since Elizabeth gave her towel. She reveals that Oda wrote it on her back and told her to fight for the wake, which makes her awry as she remembers him. She notes that she has decided to follow Kai, which makes Elizabeth think Yoko is conflicted, but she reminds herself that she still hasn't forgiven him. After that, Kei's body becomes hot since he stayed in the hot spring for a long time, and they notice that a monster has appeared in front of them, but it turns out to be Elizabeth. She mentions that she took a mud bath because it's good for the skin, and she tells Kai he doesn't know anything about women. As Yoko falls asleep, Elizabeth asks Kai what's on his mind. So, he tells her he isn't sure if the white demon she showed him is the same one from his memory. She thinks the phoenix he thought was his sister Sarah might have been someone else. But Elizabeth doesn't understand how it could have been Sarah since it was on fire. He tells her about the time Sarah was attacked by a dog and he tried to protect her, but he ended up getting injured. She realized he was about to die, but she suddenly awakened her powers and burned the dog alive. Elizabeth mentions that the demons have been evolving, so the white demon might be the evolved form of the one that ate Sarah. And she thinks the mark on its neck is proof that her theory is correct. She thinks their questions will be answered once they find the white demon. And she notes that the demon first appeared in Tokyo, which is 300 kilometers away. But Kei suddenly notices that Yoko has gone missing and we see that a cat has taken her away. Yoko gets away and runs into a pipe, but the cat continues to be wry and get her. So Kei tells the cat to leave her alone. She refuses to back down. So they prepare to fight, but the cat's children suddenly arrive. Elizabeth realizes she was after Yoko to feed her children, and she mentions that she hasn't been able to get them anything to eat for 0 days. So, Elizabeth lays an egg for them to eat. The cat is grateful to her, but she explains that the egg isn't alive since it isn't fertilized. So, she was planning to throw it away, and she's glad it didn't go to waste. She realizes the cat has an owner, so she wonders if her owner isn't feeding them. But Kei sees the whole town digging holes. He realizes they aren't in their right minds. So, the cat mentions that a monster appeared 0 days ago and it's making everyone dig holes without rest. She feels bad for the children because they're being held in a shed and she doesn't think they're being fed properly. One of the kids' names tells everyone they will die if they don't do anything. So, they break out of the shed and he holds the guard to make sure the others can get away, but they end up getting caught. An officer prepares to shoot him, but Elizabeth electrocutes the officer in the guard and uses her phone to tell the children to tie them up. They head to Say's house and Elizabeth wonders if anyone came to help them, but he explains that the officer under the monster's control must have kept everything under wraps. He cooks ramen for everyone and Elizabeth praises his cooking skills. So, he explains that he had to do it to survive since his mother died when he was little. She tells everyone her group is on a journey to eliminate all the demons and notes that the monster in their village might be demon as well, but they don't know much about it since they've been locked up in the shed the entire time. So, she tells Kai they should go visit the monster. The kids mention that the monster doesn't have 4 horns, so Kai refuses to go with Elizabeth since he only wants to defeat the white demon. Kai suddenly starts to feel overly romantic. And the feeling is too intense for him to control himself. So he grabs Elizabeth but she pushes him away. He begs her to help him, and seeing how desperate he is, she agrees to do it with him if he helps her take down the demon the following day, but he realizes he needs to control himself until then. He bites himself to calm down, and she tells him to sleep in the bathroom since he's too dangerous. The next day, as Elizabeth wakes up, she notices that C is gone while Kay notes that he couldn't sleep all night. She wonders where C went. So the other children mention that he might have gone to see the demon who happens to be his father. C points a gun at the demon and demands that he give his father back, but it flicks him away and opens up its chest to show him his father. In a flashback, we see that C's father lost all his money betting on a horse race and C yells at him because he took loans to gamble. He notes that he'll pay everything back after he wins big at an underground casino, but C asks him why he doesn't just get a job, which annoys him since no one gets rich that way. He finds a box with a scroll and he decodes the text which mentions that a group of bandits buried their treasure in that area and it's currently worth billion yen. He continues to dig for a year but he doesn't find anything, so he becomes frustrated and turns into a demon. In the present, C's father tells him that once they get rich, they can leave the village and do whatever they want. But C mentions that he doesn't care about money and notes that he only wants to live normal life with his father. He tells the demon to zip him back up and it suddenly turns into a giant as it tells Say that money is the only thing that matters. Elizabeth and the others arrive and she sees that the demon is a variant just like she thought, but she didn't expect it to be so huge. It opens an eye on its forehead, and Elizabeth warns Ki not to look at it, but it's too late for Yoko, who falls under the demon's control. She starts to dig, but Elizabeth tells the demon to dig the treasure itself instead of making everyone else do its dirty work. It attacks with its fist, so she dodges its attack and electrocutes it, but it has no effect, so she thinks she needs more voltage. Kai lunges at it, but it opens up the zippers on its body to defend itself and notes that it will devour anything that gets close to it. Kai unleashes his special move, but it gets out of the way, and they're surprised Eli how fast it is. C asks Ki to spare his dad, but Elizabeth comes up with an idea and tells Ki to lure the demon toward the electric poles. The demon charges at Kai and he dodges its attacks, but it throws the debris from the ground to blind him. It prepares to finish him off, but it suddenly sees treasure lying on the ground, so it becomes distracted. Elizabeth attaches her grappling hook to the electric poles, and she uses the electricity to shock the demon while Ki finishes it off with his special move. Its head explodes, and everyone returns to their senses, but Kai rushes to Elizabeth and reminds her of her promise. But she has no plans of doing anything with him since she still hates him for leaving her. She hugs his father, but Kai is angry at him because he's the reason why he had to fight and get nothing in return. Kai unleashes his special move, and she gets in the way. But Kai still refuses to stop. C's father pushes him out of the way, and he begs Kai to spare his son, explaining that he's the only one who should die, since he's been a burden to everyone. Kai decides to spare him as well, while Elizabeth tells him to remember what happened for the rest of his life. As she leaves with Kai, she admits that she was impressed Eli his actions, so he thinks he has chance with her. He gets close to her and tells her he loves her, but she kicks him in the nuts. We learn that a man named Ibakura filmed their fight with the demon, and when he puts it online, it instantly goes viral. Kai and the others become famous, and everyone stares at them as they walk around town, so Yoko thinks they're looking at her since she's cute, but a group of delinquents want to catch them. Meanwhile, Ibakura thinks about how he planned to get famous Eli uploading videos of strange bugs, but that was until he saw Kiji and the others fighting the demon. He followed them to the city, and even though he lost them, he knows they're still there. He plans to capture them and upload the ultimate video of him hunting them down, but he doesn't even notice them running. Outside, the delinquents surround Kai and the others, and they prepare to capture them, but Kai and his friends jump onto the roof to escape. Elizabeth is surprised Eli the number of views the video has gotten, and she thinks they should just lie low for a while since the humans are after them. Kai refuses to hide and notes that he'll live his life the way that he wants. So, Elizabeth tells him not to underestimate the humans, but he doesn't listen to her. They start to argue and Kai decides to leave, telling her he'll continue to travel alone, but Yoko runs after him. As Kai walks around the city, a man approaches him from behind, but he breaks the man's net and continues to walk away. He comes across a pachinko shop and he decides to rear it, but he doesn't understand how humans can enjoy themselves since it's too loud. He notices a demon named Mario, so he prepares to fight, but Mario telepathically tells him he doesn't like fighting. Kai doesn't sense bloodlust, so he thinks Mario is telling the truth, and Mario lets him rear the machine. He wins the jackpot on his first tier, which excites him. But a man tells Mario that pets aren't allowed in the shop. As they leave, Mario can't believe the amount of money he won since he walked in with a coin he found on the ground. Kai thinks he should share the money since he wants to eat sea urchin, but Mario doesn't feel it's right to use the money. So, he decides to return it. Kai stops him and convinces him that the winnings are a result of his luck. So, refusing such a gift from God is like a sin. He makes Mario Eli sea urchin and he starts to air tears of joy, but as he takes a bite, he realizes it tastes disgusting since it isn't fresh from the sea. He passes out from disappointment. So Mario carries him to his hut. And as Kiji wakes up, he thanks Mario for looking after him. Mario mentions that he lives alone, and even though he goes to the city to have fun, his hut is still his favorite spot. Kai wonders what happened to the human who created him. So, he explains that he doesn't know, but thinks the human must be living a happy life. In a flashback, we see Mario as he gets diagnosed with cancer, and the doctor tells him he only has a month to live. He thinks about how he didn't live a good life, and we learn that he never even had a girlfriend, so he wishes he could continue living. A demon is born from his body, and it tells Mario it was born because of his will to live, so it will live for both of them, telling Mario to die without regrets. He gets a call from the doctor who tells him he doesn't actually have cancer, explaining that his report got mixed up with someone else. So, he runs off and notes that he'll live his life like he's been reborn. In the present, Mario tells Kai he's a creature with no purpose in life. And he mentions that the people of the city call him a monster and bully him. But Kai notes that no one has a meaningless life, and he assures Mario he'll eventually find his purpose. He offers Kai alcohol, and as they get drunk, Kai ends up vomiting. He tells Mario he will show him something special, and he starts to dance, which makes Mario burst up laughing. After that, Mario thanks Kai for spending time with him since it's the most fun he has had in his life, and Kai is glad to learn that there are good demons like Mario in this world. As Kai leaves, he plans to look for a place to stay, and he wonders where Elizabeth and Yoko are, but he notices that a storm is coming. Yoko continues to look for Kai, and Elizabeth tells her to forget about him, but she notes that she hates Elizabeth since she always bullies him. They found Eli, a girl named Muzu, who takes them to her home, where she lives with her sick grandfather. Elizabeth uses her phone to talk to her, and she introduces themselves to Misuzu, who surprised Eli how smart she is. She gives them weight to eat and she starts to study as she reveals that she wants to become doctor so that she can cure her grandfather. Elizabeth knows that the area is experiencing record levels of rainfall and she asks Muzu why they don't evacuate since they live near the river, but her grandfather is sure nothing will happen. Elizabeth thinks about how she hates Ski for what he did to her, but she doesn't understand why she couldn't bring herself to kill him, which makes her wonder if she still has feelings for him. A man comes to their house and tells them to evacuate since the river's flooded. So, they make their way to the evacuation center. They notice that the flood water is about to reach them, but Muzu's grandfather's wheelchair gets stuck. So, Elizabeth helps her push it, but it still doesn't move. Yoko sees how hard Elizabeth is trying to save him, and she recalls how Elizabeth rescued her from the cat, which makes her think she's the embodiment of the duty Oda told her about. Yoko starts to push the wheelchair as well and the grandfather tells them to leave him since the water will reach them in a matter of seconds. But she unleashes her full power and they manage to get to safety just in time. He starts to cry and thanks them for saving his life. But Yoko tells him not to give up before Muzu grows up and Elizabeth thinks they wouldn't have made it if it weren't for Yoko. Meanwhile, Morio wonders if Kei is okay, but he suddenly feels vibrations, and he realizes the dam is about to break, worrying that the entire city is in trouble. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel.